Alright guys, so in this video we're checking out the iFlight GOCam GR. So there's two versions of the GOCam. This is the GR version, and there's also another one called the G3 version. So it's called GOCam G3. And I didn't really understand why that there were two versions of this when I first got this camera, and then I realized sort of afterwards that they're basically both recased versions of other cameras. So the GR, the one you're seeing here, and the G3, they both have the same form factor. So they both come in this iFlight designed case for the camera components. The GR version, this one here, is a recased basically camera of this one here that I reviewed previously. This is the RunCam 5 Orange. And so they basically took the main guts of this camera and put it into this new case, and obviously some modifications and new features for this, and I'll explain all that here momentarily. Then the other version, the G3 version, is a recased version of the SMO 4K camera, or the Insta360 1R with the 4K mod. That one is also one that I reviewed as well. But if I look at the specs of that camera, the G3, it's virtually identical to both of those other cameras, the SMO 4K and the Insta360 1R. So if you're kind of wondering what that footage is going to look like, I imagine it's going to be the same as the SMO 4K on the 1.2.61 firmware, I believe is what it's running. So yeah, it's running the same firmware and everything, so I can't imagine it being all that different in terms of the footage it'll produce. Now the prices are different on these because this one, the GR, is cheaper than the G3 because the SMO 4K is pretty expensive compared to the RunCam 5. I don't know what the current prices are. I've checked a few times and they've been kind of going up and down, and prices fluctuate. So I don't like to say what the prices are in the videos because someone will always say, "Oh, the price is different now," and just check the link down in the description because I'm sure whatever I say now is not going to be current or by the time this video comes out or when you happen to watch the video. But in any case, the GR version is definitely cheaper than the G3 version, and I think it has to do with the quality of the footage. If you guys saw my review of the RunCam 5 Orange, it's okay. It's not the best image quality ever. For RunCam, it's pretty decent. A lot of limitations in terms of being only 4K 30, no 4K 60, etc. I'll link that review down in the video description. You can go and watch that. I talked about all that in great detail. One of the features that this camera has that the RunCam 5 Orange also has is the ability to change your settings via your smartphone. So you just basically download the RunCam app on your smartphone. And here's what it looks like, and you can see here they already have the GOCam in there, but if you go to the RunCam 5 Orange, you can basically set your QR code configuration the same way. And I think that they're doing that for all their cameras. Basically, you just go in here and you can set your resolution. So these are the ones that are available currently, although I'm hearing that newer firmware is going to come out that's going to offer some additional resolutions. 1440p at 60 frames per second is a 4:3 resolution, so it'll give you the full sensor, whereas the other ones are only 16:9 in terms of the output and crops the top and the bottom. So if you want 4K 30, that's available, 2.7K 60, all the way down to 1080p 60 and 1080p 120. But yeah, in essence, all of the same sort of features are in here, like the distortion correction, electronic image stabilization, wide dynamic range, etc. You can also go into the general settings here and change things like saturation, contrast, sharpness, etc. All these are default here. I would recommend reducing contrast, sharpness, and saturation to low. I think it's a better image, but I'm just going to show you the stock footage because otherwise you can just get into a whole myriad of different combinations, etc. And it's going to look all different. It's going to be based on your preferences. But basically, you can use the same app here to change your settings. You basically go here and then adjust your settings, hit apply, you get this QR code. You're going to, when the camera is on, I'll just go ahead and show you how that works. Just turn on the camera, short press, you get a red light. If you double press, it'll go into the settings mode. Okay, so you have to double press it quickly. So I didn't press it quickly enough. It goes, the red blinking light means it's recording. So you got to go and quickly press it 2 times like that. There you go. Nope. Failed again. Let's try one more time. There we go. So you should get a green light when you do a double click, and then you just basically point the camera at the QR code, and then once it gets to settings, it'll turn back to a solid red light. That means the settings were applied. Otherwise, they'll stay green. And it works the same way as on the GOCam 5. That's how you would change your settings. And to turn it off, you just long press the power button, and then it'll turn off. So iFlight designed this special case for both types of cameras, for people that want different kinds of footage, and they've also added some interesting features here that are specific to the GOCam that you can't get anywhere else. So you have the ability to remove this filter here, this little cover, kind of like GoPro style. This is just a UV filter here, and then they come with ND8, 16, and 32 filters that you can put on the front, and then that will obviously cut your light down if you want to adjust your shutter speed or whatever and get that motion blur. That is on here if you want to do that. This one comes with the option of either using a battery or just using the dummy battery cover. So I'm going to pull this off. This is actually running off of a 1-cell battery. So the batteries look like this. So the batteries come in this setup here in this box with the GOCam charger box. You get 3 of these batteries that look like this, and then you get a charger box, looks like this. Just basically slide the batteries in there, it'll charges off of a USB Type-C or XD60, and it's 2 to 6S on the XD60, Type-C, 5 volts, 1.5 amps, and pretty simple. Basically you just provide your power supply, plug in your batteries, and when they're done charging, the light turns green. Pretty simple. But if you don't want to, I think this whole thing here is optional here. You don't have to buy this. It will come with the dummy battery cover, basically. So this is just to keep the weight as low as possible. And then if you use the dummy battery cover, and of course it comes with this mount here. I used it on the ProTech 25, and I'm testing it on the Camera 4, and I'll explain why in a moment. But if you use the dummy battery cover, obviously it's going to need some sort of power supply, and then in this case it's using sort of that naked style plug here. This is, I believe, the same output as the Snow 4K camera, so you can either use drones that have that plug, or you can use this included BEC power plug here. So you use the balance lead of your battery here, make sure you have it pinned properly. If you put it in down over here or reversed, whatever, you will fry your camera or the BEC. So be careful that you actually put in the battery correctly. But then this little plug here is the same, I think, as on the Snow 4K, and then that will go into this plug over here. I think it goes in like this. I think the red power is on the bottom. So go ahead and plug that in. And it should just plug in like that. And then when you plug in the battery balance lead into this, I'll give it power to the camera. This should then be able to turn on by short pressing the on-off button there. And then your micro SD card goes into this little slot right here. And I actually have one in here already. And you want to be careful about this little door, because you can break it off pretty easily, especially when you're trying to slide the camera into and out of the mount here, because it's a very tight fit. Getting in is okay, but when you pull it out, the lip of the door right here might be hanging a little low, and it'll get caught, and then you'll bust the door off. So like right over here, might get caught right here. Just be aware of that. So what I usually do is I just pop the door off before I slide it in and out of this little mount, just to avoid that problem. But let me show you how much this weighs with the dummy battery. Obviously you want to go for lighter weight. This is what this whole thing is designed for. So with the dummy battery cover, we're coming in at 39 grams. So yeah, it's not quite in naked GoPro territory, like 28, 29 grams. It's a bit heavier. And then if you use the battery instead of the dummy door, So put that on here with the battery. Now we're coming in at about 50.5 grams. Okay, so the one really big difference here on this camera versus the GOCam 5 Orange is that this will record the gyro movements of the camera to a separate CSV file along with the video file. So you'll get a .mov file with some file name, and then that same file name, but it'll be a .csv file, and that is going to be the gyro data. And right now, there is some work in development. It's not really ready yet to show you in this video because it's still sort of in alpha phase. But there's a developer that is creating something called Gyro Flow that allows you to use that gyro data to stabilize the video footage, very similarly to the way Real Steady Go works with GoPro and its metadata and gyro data that's saved with the GoPro files. So it's work in progress. I have been kind of playing around with it. The results are a little hit and miss right now, so I'm not really going to show it to you yet because it's not really fully developed. There's some changes that need to be made on this firmware to be able to clean up the gyro noise, because there's a lot of noise that comes from the way, for example, the camera is mounted on a drone, and any kind of vibrations that get into the gyro data here will turn into noise that will then end up producing bad results on the stabilization. So you are going to need to put this on something that has very good vibration dampening. People that have like a Hero 7, for example, if they try and stabilize jet footage with Real Steady Go, they kind of understand where that's coming from. It's just kind of in that similar stage right now. I know that they're going to work on getting updated firmware on this that will do some sort of like high pass filtering on the gyro data so that the noise is eliminated and should result in better stabilized footage in the end, but that I don't have that yet, so, and I don't know when that's going to be coming out, so I wanted to go ahead and get this video out, and I will have an update at some point in the future once things settle down with this one, because things are still in progress, and I also want to see more resolutions available, like a 4:3 resolution mode in 4K would be nice to see the full sensor, because it is a 4:3 sensor, and then you can, once you stabilize that and turn it into 16:9 footage, you get a wider field of view in your stabilized footage like you do in the GoPro. So that, and like, the fact that the bit rate could be a little bit higher, I think even at 4K 30 it's only like 50 megabits. Things like that could be improved. Now there may be limitations on the chips in here or the processing power or that kind of thing. I'm not sure yet, but there's room for improvement. I've forwarded a lot of this stuff to the developers, so maybe we'll see something in the future. But this is the first camera that is going to be, I think it's going to be the first of many that will be coming, that will allow you to stabilize the footage in post-processing with gyro data, which is really the best way to do it, because it's going to be ultimately, if you have good gyro data, you're going to have smoother video footage at the end. So if that's what you're looking for, obviously with some of the caveats of it being a GOCam based camera, if you're willing to live with that, but get nice stabilized footage in the end, stay tuned. I'll have a video in that down the road once the development is sort of a little bit further along. Now, regarding the other version, the G3 version, like I said, it's basically the same as the SMO 4K, but you have this ability to swap batteries or run it with a dummy battery, the ability to change ND filters like this. Obviously it weighs more than the SMO 4K, so if you already have one, should you get the G3 version? I'd say probably not. It's not really worth it. But that's kind of the ecosystem that they're developing here. I think they're going to probably use the same form factor for future cameras that may come out later. Now I know that hey, this looks just like a GoPro. Why not make like a Session 5 style, a Cube style camera? And I agree. Why couldn't they do that? I don't know. You'd have to ask them. These things, they didn't give me any chance to provide any input on that, but I have asked them, hey, can you make a cube shaped naked style, ultralight camera in the same sort of style here with the same features? And we'll see, if enough people make noise about it, comments, hint, comment down below. then maybe we'll see something like that in the future. But yeah, if if they don't see anyone saying anything about it, then of course they're going to assume that no one's interested in it and not make any further developments. Anyway, I'm just going to show you a little bit of footage here. This is not stabilized or anything. This is from the Camera for, just it basically looks the same as the footage that comes from the GOCam 5. I can't see any significant differences in terms of the quality of the footage. It seems like it's the same sort of style. I think it's the same sensor, pretty much. So yeah, if you see any differences, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Stay tuned for more on this camera later, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.